Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. This is episode 165, where we are talking about social media horror. This is Mike Campbell, and I'm joined by
Eric Lee
and
Liz Williams.
All right, so my hot take on social media horror is all the social media horror movies, I'm going to stick by this, they're all terrible. They're all largely found footage. All the characters are despicable and unlikable, and you cheer for them to die.
I have one exception to that rule.
Okay.
I have one exception also.
Okay. I can't
But
wait.
we're all going to recommend three things.
I can't wait to hear the exceptions.
So here's some of my hot takes
Yes.
about this subgenre.
Yes.
Well, I think the first thing that wanted to say is I've had fans ask me directly, what do you see as new trends in horror movies? Is there anything that's happening that's different now than we haven't seen before? And it's like, well, social media horror just didn't really exist 20 years ago in a major way.
976 Evil, though. I don't know. Chat lines were the social media of the late 80s, early 90s.
Strangeland.
Was there any
yeah. God, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Or
that was 1990.
Hard Candy. I think that was
Hard Candy.
Strangeland, I think, was 96.
But there were not enough to create a subgenre.
True.
Right.
True.
And now there is a definite trend, and I think it preys upon. Well, there's a number of things. One, it's embracing youth trends. This is for the millennials, Gen Z,
right.
This kind of a thing. It also is an indictment of youth trends.
Oh, 100%.
And trolls and bad behavior.
Bullying.
All that kind of stuff. This is also narcissistic.
Oh.
A lot of this, all the characters
incredibly so.
And here we are podcasting.
That's right.
It's like us. Hit that like button.
The ultimate.
Join our Patreon.
It's also budget friendly. If you're going to do it's on a Zoom or it's on my computer, you can make it with your phones. I think it's around to stay.
It is.
I think so as well. But
when did the internet start?
I mean, the first time I
saw the internet.
Well, the Plato system. I did a little bit of research. The Plato system started in 1960, and it came with Term Talk and Talkomatic, which was the first online chat room. They had a news report. They had a crowdsourced online newspaper. They had a blog and access lists, and they had you could set limits on your classmates and coworkers within the original Plato system in the early 1960s.
Thank you, Al Gore.
I know. So
I was excited in the 80s when we got that Macintosh and I could do print shop and make big ass posters.
Right.
You mean I have to plug this thing into the wall?
Right.
Yeah.
So
we were tethered to the wall back in the day, children.
But while you're totally right, Eric, because I think the large majority of the social media has happened post 2010. So when Flickr, when YouTube, when Twitter, when Facebook all really came on incredibly strong, that's when social media horror started.
And I think it also is tied strongly to smartphones.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It is the access to quick, immediate reactions to things.
Right.
Your Snapchats, your Instagrams, this and the abuse of this. I mean, those trends have gotten picked up on. I think right now, in the same way Liz says that it's here to stay. I think it's kind of like found footage horror. Right.
Yeah.
Where there are people. It hits a nerve with some people. I would agree that there's not a lot of really good material out there. I think there are some movies that I don't think we're going to be talking about. I'll mention them if we get through it without mentioning some of the better ones, because I think we've talked some of them up a bunch already, and so we're going to talk about news.
Yeah, I was going to say I think the great social media horror film, save for Host. I think
I was going to say Host.
Yeah, I think the great social media horror film has yet to be made.
I think Host is carrying the banner right now.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I said save for Host. it really is not there yet.
Unfriended comes
I really like
closer.
the original Unfriended.
The first Unfriended is pretty good. It's not as good as Host.
Yep.
But I think it's like a 3.5 star movie. Maybe might hit 4 stars in my book. I think 3.5 is pretty generous.
All right. What's your least favorite social media platform, Eric?
So Twitter.
Okay. And have you had a horrifying experience on Twitter?
No,
Okay.
Partly I just don't know how to use Twitter well, and then it's just I get overwhelmed with a bunch of stuff I don't want to read.
Yeah.
I think, but I'm not a big user of, like, I don't use Instagram. I know that that's
for you.
Instagram.
For you, the horror comes from the the lack of time.
Well, the horror for me is I'm too old for it. It's like, what are you kids doing?
Liz, what is your least favorite social media
My
platform?
least favorite is Twitter. I don't have a Twitter. I don't tweet.
Yep.
Yeah,
but I love Instagram, and I take like daily TikTok breaks and just kick back for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and watch TikToks.
enjoy that for another month.
Enjoy it while you can.
I know.
Enjoy it while you can. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is after your TikTok.
Well, and speaking,
if they could see what I send TikToks to my friends, they'd be like, "Oh, look at this great salad recipe," and then how to say curse words in French, and then buy this skin cream.
Well,
Pedro Pascal. Yeah.
Social media influencers that we are, we do invite anybody who likes listening to us to contact us for our Facebook chat group. It's a fairly small group, but but everybody's on good behavior. We're all we're all in it to talk fun horror movies, and so that's a plug. That's about the extent that I know about how to use social media. Facebook. I'm old.
Group? Yeah.
So,
how about you, Mike? What's your least favorite?
Kind of all of them, really. Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about old.
Yeah.
Old man Campbell.
They feel all like
sad that I'm the young
a giant time suck.
They are, but I have the time.
I will say this about Instagram in particular is I do learn quite a bit about horror films through Instagram. Mm-hmm. I mean, just today MGM is teasing out a whole new trailer for the upcoming it's like a 4-part series on the Amityville Horror.
Okay.
Yes,
I just learned about that today, and so I mean it serves that kind of purpose, which is really interesting because otherwise it would take me potentially months and months to pick up a copy of Starlog or Fangoria and flip through it to figure out that there's a new Amityville Horror.
Right. Well, now my addiction.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you consider YouTube a social media
100%?
Platform? Yeah, that's mine.
100%. Yeah.
That's the kind of a thing. When there are some people who go to bed and they're constantly checking their tweets or their I'm the guy who's got YouTube on and I just find something else and I just get sucked in and there's another and that comes in half-hour, 1-hour segments where I just get brought into.
YouTube is a massive rabbit hole.
But to remind folks, hey, we're also doing a YouTube thing.
Check us out. Spooky Time
once a week.
The Scariest Things podcast.
So far.
So we're talking out both sides of our mouth, or
or somewhere else.
Hey, it's a necessary evil, I think,
out.
Right now.
Yeah,
it is.
It totally is.
To connect with people and like get people excited about what you're doing.
Yep. I still have a friend. Who doesn't have a cell phone?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And
how do they get in touch with you? Like.
It's like I have to. That sometimes that's the case. He lives in my neighborhood. He's a buddy of mine, and he comes over to watch TV because he doesn't bother with having it. He is really low tech.
I love it.
I love technology, and I'm so lazy. I don't know how YouTube. I want to look at Instagram. I want to watch TV.
There are times when you go into restaurants now and you have to use you scan the menu.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like. What does he do? I don't know. Maybe go somewhere else. So, anyhow, there are some people who are middle-aged and older who have not adopted this, who may not get some of the movies that really play to the social media horror. It is for the millennials and Gen Z folks really know this hits a chord.
I was just going to say, a lot of these don't particularly resonate with me because I'm not a millennial or Gen Z, and I think that's largely all of these films are very self-referential about the fact that they are millennials and Gen Z. Mm-hmm. I mean, they make a very clear point of that.
Yes. Yeah. and it can be annoying.
Right.
So, who wants to get this bitch session going?
I will start with a film from 2011. As I mentioned, they're all found footage films, largely because they haven't figured out a way quite yet to get out of the found footage sort of status. This is a found footage psychological horror film called Megan is Missing, which is
I heard about this.
it's pretty brutal. This is written, directed, edited, and co-produced by a guy named Michael Goy, and it revolves around the days leading up to the disappearance of a young woman, Megan Stewart, who is a popular high school student in North Hollywood, who decides to meet up with a skater boy she was interacting with online.
Never go out with the skater boys.
Never go out with skater boys.
News.
Bad news. And her... So she disappears, and then her friend, who's sort of the goody two-shoes of the duo, she begins to investigate her best friend's disappearance, and Amy is the character who is doing the investigating. This was based on a series of real-life cases of child abduction, and apparently Mark Claus, founder of the Claus Kids Foundation, Polyclaus, notably endorsed the film. And it largely, so the social media component of this revolves around sort of chat rooms, right? So this was done in 2011, as I said, really before YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc., really came on strong. It was like right at the infancy of those things, and so people still were actively using chat rooms, not the Plato system from the 1960s. Very, very different chat rooms. But the film is largely kind of a slow burn. And it is pretty linear in that it's a guy posing as a skater boy who is actively pursuing young women. It's the last probably 15 minutes or so that the film goes from like pretty tepid to incredibly brutal and shockingly brutal, involving, fetish dungeons and torture and everything else that you should not see on the internet or anywhere else.
It is the dark web.
So,
it is the deepest of the dark web.
I want to ask a question because I haven't seen this, but I've heard of it. And is this almost like we're trying to scare you straight off the internet? Because it's kind of making me think of... Do you remember? So Gen X people will remember. I remember in like 6th and 7th grade reading that book, Go Ask Alice, where it was like, she took the drugs.
She took LSD.
It wasn't real. And they're like, this is written by a psychiatrist about her patient. It wasn't real, but we were like, oh my God. I mean, it didn't
clutch
stop
those
me
pearls.
From taking drugs, but like, oh my God. So I was like, when I heard about this movie, I was like, it's like the Go Ask Alice.
Totally. I think that's
this generation, I guess.
I think that's a perfect analogy. Yeah, it is.
I just recently heard of this.
It is sort of an internet scare film, sort of a scare internet scare film, scared straight from the internet. Yeah, it's sort of all of those things. But I will say it's super brutal. There is a rape in it, so if that is something,
trigger warning.
If that is something that bothers you, I would stay the hell away from this film. But otherwise, it does present, even though the technology is incredibly dated, it does present a pretty interesting and compelling...
2010?
2011.
Yeah, it's amazing that 12 years later is incredibly dated. It's like in dog years now.
Yeah. Well, and I did, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to talk about this film. I mentioned Strangeland, the Dee Snider film from the late 90s. And yeah, like the opening sequence is a modem dialing up. Yeah. Yeah, and so you like
that AOL disc in.
That's right.
Most people wouldn't even know what that is, and I mean, much like Megan is Missing, a lot of people would look at the style, the design, the layout of the chat room, and go, I don't even know what this thing is. So technology is advancing very, very quickly. So what do you have, Eric?
Yep. I'm going with a fun one.
Okay.
It's not great, but it's fun. This is Tragedy Girls from 2017.
Collision.
Collision? Okay.
I thought it was great. I really enjoyed this.
I had fun with it. I think that I think my problem is Okay, because as Mike says,
Yeah.
protagonists are despicable. They're
Oh,
adorable
they are.
Oh.
They're so cute.
and despicable.
They are so cute.
really cute, and the charismatic actresses,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Brianna Hildebrand and who plays Sadie, and Alexandra Shipp plays Michaela, and Jack Quaid for some reason is cast as a high school kid, and he looks like he's 30.
Yeah. It's
They
got the guy from the Hunger Games as motorcycle boyfriend.
Mike
and Craig T.
Hutcherson.
Robinson.
Yeah, Craig T. Robinson was great in his bit. Yeah.
Big Al.
So yeah, it was So what this is there's two high school girls who are desperate to be social influencers, and they track and capture a serial murderer, and they want to take over his killing spree and blame it on him and become.
They need
famous.
100,000 likes by prom.
Right.
That was their goal.
So again, they're cute, they're fearless, they're horribly narcissistic.
Yeah.
They're obsessed.
And they're murderers.
Yeah, they're obsessed both with the violence and the fame.
Wait, they catch the
They
catch the murderer.
They figure out a local serial killer's plots, and they piggyback onto it. They set up some guy to be the victim, and then when they taser him and capture him, the serial killer, and
then they're going to do the crimes, blame it on him, but then they're going to solve the crimes through their Tragedy Girl blog and get all the likes.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So but it gets frustrating for them because you have one of the most inept police departments in the country who keep on going, well, looks like an accident. And it's like, how is that? Go off on trying to get people to believe that there's a murder spree in the town. And there is, but they're actually the murderers. But nobody believes it. And they go, well, it was a motorcycle accident. Or there's some excuse. And so nobody's actually believing that they're not getting their hype.
Right.
And so then they have to up their game. and it just gets really sloppy, bloody. And they're also hyper competitive at school because they're on the prom committee.
Right.
This kind of stuff. And they're not quite they're not the classic popular kids. They're like if the gothy kids kind of got popular.
Okay.
I think it, Liz, I got the feeling that this was kind of a smaller budget, somewhat indie film.
Yeah, I would say.
But I think it competes in the same environment with things like Freaky.
Okay.
Which was the Vince
I had
Vaughn.
a great time with this movie. I really, really enjoyed it. And the whole time I was watching it, I was like, this is prime for a double feature with like Serial Mom.
Yeah.
It has that campy, silly, funny.
Oh, the John Waters movie.
Yeah.
With
they
Kathleen
would go
Turner.
well together. And like just being aware. So like the girls are totally aware of social media and how to get the followers, and like the newscasters.
They're smarter than anybody else.
This is real journalism. Like come back, and she's like the local news reporter who thinks everything's like a traffic accident. I had a lot of fun with this.
What was the chant that they came up with? Was remember Al?
Oh yeah, remember Al, remember Al.
Because Al, they kill Al.
Yeah.
And it's super bloody.
Yeah, it's so great. It's Craig T. Robinson gets it horribly.
Right.
But in the gym.
But he puts up a good fight, but it's like the two girls. He doesn't see it coming, but it's like a fight in the gym. It was great. That was a great fight.
Well, and the director went on to do some VHS 99 stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tyler McIntyre is the director. And, and I suspect if he sticks with it, he's got a very good comedy horror chops.
Yeah.
And I think I'm expecting big things from both Brianna Hildebrand and Alexandra Shipp.
All right.
Well, Alexandra Shipp played Aaliyah in the Lifetime movie, and then she was in Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
And Brianna Hildebrand's been in Deadpool 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but they're still
big
still
things are already
very young
happening.
still. Yeah.
Big things are
happening.
happening.
A lot of the enjoyment I had in this movie was because of their performances. They were so fun.
They're sort of this wide-eyed, smirky, and there's a real confidence both in the performance and in the characters that's really quite enjoyable.
All right, Liz, what do you got next?
Okay, I am going to the dangers of dating apps.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have never used one. Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could have done that, but
you ain't
most of
missing
the time
much.
I don't mind. So what I'm going to do is a Netflix series called Somebody. It is a Korean series. And it is about Kim San, who's an app developer who creates a dating app known as Somebody. So you can find somebody. So originally intended to help people find their perfect match, things soon go awry when a mysterious serial killer starts using the apps to hunt and kill his victims. Now, our main character has Asperger's syndrome. She is very socially awkward and uses the app herself to, find friendship, and ends up, of course, talking with the killer. And a little bit of the kind of like what you don't know about is the show is, does she know that this is the killer as the things are coming out that he's using the app, and she keeps it secret because she still is like getting along with him, or does she not know? So it is a Netflix original. It's not a Korean original series. They commissioned it, and I have read on the internet that the reason you can tell that is because of the amount of sex in this show. So I had wanted to get into some of the K-dramas and things because there are tons and tons and tons. So this one sounded interesting, and I started out and I was like, ooh, if they're all like this, I'm in. But they are not all like this. This one is darker, sexier than most of them. It's really, really good.
It's remarkable, actually, how the Koreans can do something like I Saw the Devil.
Yeah.
And something hyper violent like that, but they're shy on the sex thing.
Sex.
Right.
At least on their series, like their K-dramas.
That's true.
And I just thought this was I'm sure this actually happens. I mean, I know there's datelines and stuff of like they met on a dating app, and Megan is missing. They've lit in a chat room. So what I really liked is that you don't really know if she already knows this is the killer and just still talks to him because of her social awkwardness and she's really feeling a connection with this guy, or if she just has no clue. So really good series. It's just 10 episodes. I quite enjoyed it and would try, some more of them. So anybody who is looking for something different, trying to get into some of the K-dramas, I would go here. It's much more of a thriller, but it does have some pretty gnarly violence, so I'm putting it.
It's a gateway to I Saw the Devil.
Yeah. That's a big gateway.
So when you stand on this side of the bridge, you're like, oh, I'll take that first step, and then if you leap across,
that's a
then
long
you'll be watching
bridge.
I Saw the Devil. It's a very long. It's like our causeway. It's 26 miles long.
Right.
This is on one side. I Saw the Devil's on the other side.
All right. Next film I am talking about is Unfriended from 2014. I hadn't seen it because I have not seen any of the social media horror movies. I've stayed away from all of them purposely. And I actually kind of like this one.
I'm in the same boat.
Agreed.
This is directed by Levin Gabradze, and they said this was allegedly the first film to be shot entirely on a computer screen. The film is told almost entirely through a screencast of a MacBook. The first scene you see in the film is a young woman killing herself at a high school. And then a year later, her five best friends, are left to pick up the pieces. Is it 6 or 5? I can't even remember now. It's 5 or 6.
It's a bunch.
It's a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Bunch of kids are left to
a
pick.
lot of boxes on that monitor.
That's right. They are left to pick up the pieces and try to figure out what has happened to her. And it turns out that this was a massive game of bullying that all of the friends in some way, shape, or form participated in, and ultimately led to Laura's death. Now, the thing that's interesting about it is that somehow the undead or dead Laura, the spirit of the undead or dead Laura, has managed to infiltrate the computer and is a computer whiz. And everywhere the kids turn, Laura is 10 steps ahead of them, and the kids are forced to participate in essentially a very sadistic version of Never Have I Ever. Right. And they all ultimately end up killing themselves. Hooray, which is good because
despicable people.
They're all horrible characters who do get their comeuppance. The use of social media in this case is rather chaotic. I'm sure this is standard form for most kids of this age, but they're constantly toggling back and forth between YouTube and Skype and Facebook and messaging apps, and it's just this like chaotic mishmash. At times, it was like it was hard to follow what was happening because there was like they were toggling between so many different so many different sources. The good news, of course, as I already mentioned, is that they do get their comeuppance. It is largely entirely nonsensical. You do have to turn your brain off because the story does not make a goddamn bit of sense. But it is pretty fun.
It's enjoyable. Yeah, I would agree with you.
It.
Yeah.
But I think I would also say that within that same neighborhood, Host is a much more coherent story.
It is. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. The thing I really liked about it after reading a little bit about and I would encourage folks to go look at all the different devices because this is only, well, I guess 8 years ago, but all the different devices they deployed for the marketing of it was really, really fascinating. Where they originally screened it at Playlist Live, which is apparently a popular convention for internet celebrities. They used Vine, they used YouTube. Vine doesn't exist anymore. They launched the whole thing with Kick Messenger. They even had at South by Southwest, they had a never have I ever section, like a unfriended booth set up where you could play never have I ever cards that they handed out at South by Southwest. They set up Facebook and Skype accounts with all of the characters in the film so you could follow their exploits. I mean, they really, really thought about some pretty unique and inventive ways to market the film.
It worked. I mean, they got it did pretty well, enough that it got sequelized.
Unfriended opened Overlook.
Yeah. So Unfriended is not terribly bad. Not terribly bad.
Which is high praise for some of the social media stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right, Eric, what do you got next?
So I have. So I think the challenge with a lot of these social media ones is a lot of them get produced by where Blumhouse kind of goes bad. It tends to be like cheap knockoffs on a popular trend, put pretty people into preposterous situations, and it's kind of formula. I found a sort of a art house-ish indie social media horror thing called Like Me from 2017. This one was playing in 2018 Overlook. I didn't catch it there, so I ended up.
Is it hashtag Like Me? Or
no, it's Like Me.
No hashtag.
Directed by Rob Mockler, starring Addison Timlin, who's our main the protagonist Kia, Larry Fessenden.
All right.
Jeremy Gardner, who I don't know if you're familiar with, but he's a part of the Larry Fessenden school of stuff.
Okay.
He's been in things like After Midnight Bliss and Sadistic Intentions. He's the guy with the crazy eyes and the crazy beard.
Okay.
And Ian Nelson plays
not Larry Fessenden.
Yeah,
the other guy with the crazy
Larry Fessenden's the chubby, balder version of that where Jeremy Gardner. If you go into IMDb, look up Jeremy Gardner, you go, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
We ran into Larry Fessenden on the bridge in South by Southwest.
That's right.
I'm hoping to see Larry at Overlook because we might actually, because he'd be a great interview.
Oh my gosh.
He's fun.
Yeah.
This is a beautifully shot indie film. It is a sumptuous looking film. It's vibrant. It's dreamy. The plot kind of is like kind of a plot. And it's a bit of a slow burner. But what the premise is, Addison Timlin plays Kia, who's a narcissistic, confirmation-seeking influencer who films provocative encounters with strangers to get a big response. She wants to she wants to become an influencer, and she figures that the way to do this is to do things like try and scare the shit out of people.
Mm-hmm.
And she's adopted the go big and outrageous to get likes and views. So it's, in a way, it's kind of like Tragedy Girls. But it takes a more serious look at it. She humiliates Jeremy Gardner, who plays a gas station attendant, by doing a fake stick up, and he pees himself at a certain point, and it goes on the internet, and of course it brings out all the trolls.
Sure.
And they go, "Oh, look, he pissed himself."
So it's a bullying thing.
There's a bullying thing, except for the thing is, Jeremy Gardner's a pretty big guy, and she's a little tiny thing. But she had a gun, and got him to do some really horrible things, but she found out fake gun,
Yeah.
and then she booked it.
Yeah.
But she captured it all on film, posted it on the internet, and she
Yeah.
got a lot of likes. So she's craving this, but then she gets called out for being a poser because she's not using a real gun.
Right.
So then she goes out and she goes to a hotel and seduces the desk clerk at the hotel, who is Larry Fessenden, ties him to a bed and forces him to eat a bunch of shit. And he starts puking. She she says, "Hey, you want to fuck me?"
Yeah.
And he kind of is like, "Okay." And he goes out there and she humiliates him.
Right.
Puts it on film, and then kidnaps him. And then it becomes a road trip with him and her as this couple. He's kind of, he's not a good dude either, and there's this weird relationship between the two of them, and that's the bulk of the movie, where they're sort of bantering back and forth, and then she stops periodically to point the gun at him and torture him some more.
Right. And then she's continually posting this online.
Yeah, online, and to the point where she's trying to get, and then the people are going, kill him, kill him, and that's it's like, can they her fan base push her to kill Marshall?
Yeah, Larry Fessenden character. Yeah.
And that's the bulk. And it's fascinating. It's a psychological tale.
Okay.
And you can sort of see that she's not wholly evil. She's just kind of, but she's a despicable character.
The internet has driven her crazy.
Yeah.
Social media has driven her crazy.
She wants the likes.
That's the new defense.
But she also will do some things like she's curious. She's a curious cat, and she goes out and she finds a homeless guy and says, "Hey, if I buy you some waffles, and would you tell me some stories?
Yeah.
Tell me about your life." And then so nonviolent kind of a thing. And so you realize that she's just curious. She's poking around all kinds of stuff, trying to get interesting life experiences, and she wants to be popular.
She's a sympathetic influencer.
Yeah, except for there are times where you just want to go, "Come on, Larry."
Yeah.
It's like, get back, but it's constantly feeding him horse tranquilizers and stuff. So there's some hallucinogenic moments where there's like,
does she get her comeuppance?
Trolls get a comeuppance.
Can you say it without spoiling it?
It's got a kind of an odd ending.
Okay.
It's a satisfying ending. Actually, she does get some comeuppance.
Okay.
She does.
Okay.
But it's ambiguous.
What do you give this one?
3.5.
Okay. Okay.
Where I think I would give Tragedy Girls 3.5.
Okay.
I would give Tragedy Girls a 4.
All right.
I might go 4 on Tragedy Girls. I mean, because it's one that I'll remember.
Yeah.
But both of these movies have problematic protagonists.
Sure. All these movies have problematic protagonists.
And you just because you just can't stand the fact that why they're doing this.
Yeah.
It's the narcissism, it's the desire for the confirmation and love of an audience.
All right. Like Me 2017. Liz, what do you got?
Smash that like button.
Okay. I'm going TV again.
All right.
I'm going Netflix again. And this is brand new series. Just came out at the end of 2022. And it is called Red Rose. And it is a British horror drama based on an app in smartphones. So it's an app. It opens with a girl committing suicide in this like fancy house, and you like focus on her phone, and you see this app go away that has a picture of a red rose. And then the next day, a girl named Rochelle, who they call Rosh, gets a link that says like, "Hey, I think you might like this app." And she opens it, and she's kind of got a hard life, and the app kind of shows her a filtered picture of her face and says like, "How about the new you?" So she's into the app, but the app ends up starting to ask her to do different things to get the payoff. First it's kind of stupid, then it's like, go kiss your friend's boyfriend in the middle of the party, so she's going to lose her friends and all this. And ultimately it seems like the app is trying to drive everybody to suicide. So we have a whole big group of friends who are all in various stages of turn off your phone, do this, we have to find where the app came from.
So
chaos.
now is it
teenage
clear?
Chaos ensues.
So is there somebody on the other end of the app that is doing this, or is this like the evil artificial intelligence?
It's not super. No, it's not supernatural, and it's not evil artificial intelligence.
Okay.
It's a person who you will find out through the 8 episodes who it is.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this one a nice 4 stars.
Oh,
ooh,
I liked
wow.
the groups of kids. they kind of, their relationship, first of all, you can't hold on to any darlings because they are going to get killed off. So I like that there's stakes, and you think like, oh, this is the main character, just like a Hereditary, oh, Charlie's the main character. Nope, head's coming off. You think one of them's the main character. Nope, third episode, they're getting killed. I like the way they all work together. They have all their different Breakfast Club personalities. Everybody plays their role really well. It could have been probably 6 episodes instead of 8.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a bunch of like parties when they're like getting their grades and graduating, and I was like, boy, this is like really weird for it to be set right now.
I never
and
did
focusing on
parties
apps.
when I got my grades.
Well, they're all dancing to like CNC Music Factory and like really weird music from the 90s, and I thought it was really funny because the guy for The Guardian, his name is Stuart Jeffries, and he called the show entertainingly disturbing, but criticized the anachronistic soundtracks of the songs from the 90s, quipping, if this is what the kids are getting down to this summer, they have bigger problems than bad grades. Yes, 100%, everybody dance now and gonna make you sweat are played at their parties. So I was like, that's a little weird.
Okay.
Marky Mark and the
it's
Funky
fun.
Bunch doesn't hold up well.
The performances are great, and it's another app on your phone that it's not a haunted phone though, which I appreciated. That.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a cheap trick to do the haunted phone. What was was it Countdown? Was that the one that was?
Well, I mean, Unfriended is kind of like everything is haunted.
Yeah,
but that was
like
first.
all the social media is haunted.
Yeah.
That was first, though. You can't keep doing haunted phone 12 years after Unfriended.
Yep.
So that's Red Rose, and it's all streaming on Netflix.
Liz, I feel like you're turning your back on Tubi with all these Netflix shows.
I know. I'll be back, Tubi.
All right. The last film I'm going to talk about is from 2018. This is an American supernatural horror film called Followed.
Mm-hmm.
This is the film last year. We talked a lot. I know Robert really liked the movie Deadstream. I did not care for Deadstream. I thought it could have gone so much better. This is the film I actually wanted Deadstream to be.
Okay.
And it's not great, but it's a lot better than Deadstream was because it doesn't try to do a bunch of slapsticky, silly stuff. It actually follows a video blogger who is going around to haunted houses, and he is desperate, much like all these characters we've discussed earlier, to get likes and comments and followers because he is on the heels of getting a sponsorship deal that will guarantee him $250,000. So he and his group of friends decide to go to the famous Lenox Hotel, which is based on the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, which of course is famous for many instances of death and violence, including murders by serial killers like Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, I did actually the serial killer tour of Los Angeles with Sharon.
So the Cecil Hotel.
So yeah, the Cecil Hotel. We went by the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So they decide to spend several nights in the Cecil Hotel over Halloween. And of course, everything goes completely haywire, as it should, because the hotel is indeed haunted. The vlogger starts out as being very cavalier and very dismissive about ghosts, spirits, the presence of serial killers, et cetera, and everyone else on his team, his editor and the sound person and the director of photography are all very sensitive to the fact that spirits and other things of that ilk could indeed be real. And so it's interesting because they all sort of are trying to convince this vlogger that and the vlogger goes by the name Drop the Mic, and of course his name is Mike. I
like that.
He has to go through kind of a character arc where he has to realize that he is indeed being cavalier and dismissive, and there is of course a major twist in the film at the very end of the film. And it's kind of an interesting one. It's a little cliched. I think they probably could have tightened that piece of it up, but it was done really on the cheap. It's it's a solid film. There's a couple really great scares. I think in the hands of somebody with a little bit more money and a little bit more writing expertise, I think it could have really tightened up. But it was fun. It was a fun little movie. I do recommend. Out of all of these, probably Followed is the best of the three I'm talking about tonight. Right. So, Eric, what do you got next? What is the last of the social media films? Get us out of here, please.
I wanted to be able to deliver a real strong, full-throated
here it is.
Approval.
Okay.
But I had to get out of direct horror.
Oh.
So this is Searching from 2018. Starring. This is directed by Anish Chaganty, starring John Cho, and holy smokes, what a performance from him.
Oh.
Deborah Messing also plays a role as a cop. This is a thriller, definitely adjacent, but not a direct horror.
Okay.
But it builds and builds and builds. John Cho plays David Kim, a recent widower whose wife died of leukemia or lymphoma, and his teenage daughter he's got a daughter who was very close to the mom, and so they're soldiering on, and she just started high school, and she disappears after one night. Early on in the film, she says, "Dad, I'm at a study party. I'm going to be out late. Don't wait up." And he goes, "Well, okay, just don't forget to take the trash out in the morning." And then he falls asleep. He gets a couple of frantic messages on his phone, and then no more messages. He tries to figure out. It's like he calls her and he goes, "Hey, I'm sorry." It's like, well, first thing he goes, "Well, why didn't you come home last night? Where are you? Why didn't you take the trash out?" And then no responses. And then he calls the school. She wasn't at school. He starts and he begins to find out she doesn't have any friends anymore. And
she's been unfriended.
Well, the thing was, but it's like she never. But
that was a social media joke.
But it brings out, it seems innocuous at the beginning, and then he with the help of the detective, who is Deborah Messing's character, Detective Vic, they manage to crack her laptop, and it's a vault filled with lots of clues and lots of red herrings. And so it brings out Instagram, Venmo, Facebook, Tumblr, Ucast, a bunch of all these platforms, and it becomes overwhelming about what's a clue and what's not a clue. Mm-hmm. And then he starts finding out, like he starts going into her social media, and she's like, Twitter, she doesn't have any. Facebook, she doesn't have any friends on Facebook. Okay, but then
nothing supernatural is happening.
Nothing supernatural, okay. This is really a murder. It's a murder mystery.
Okay,
right.
Okay,
and so it's a thriller.
Sure.
It keeps the mystery keeps going. The mystery keeps going in loops, and the ugly side of the internet keeps showing up. Because there are some times where he's just beginning to lose it, and then there are some moments where the trolls come out. And it just becomes all the things that make you uncomfortable about the internet start showing up in this thing. And there are some twists, and when the twists come up, it's really creepy. It's like icky, kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
Totally unexpected.
Sure.
You think you're following the plot, but the thing is, it does a really good job of putting the audience into David's, because he starts doing some things on the internet. It's like, oh, go back and check that, and then he'll go back and he'll see like little clues, and it's one of those, like, you want to be sort of in a mystery. You don't want to be fed everything. You don't want to be able to spot it.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to be so far behind that you're lost. And this does a great job of puzzling it all together.
Interesting.
It's one of the best mysteries I've seen in a very, very long time.
Wow. Okay.
I'd give it 4.5 stars. I think there are a couple of convenient twists that reveal some things, but there are some moments where you think, that's it. That's it. Oh no. And you start getting into, don't do this. It's social media uses all the social media for both good research and bad, which is how she got into this problem was because of social media.
Right.
And it's like, can they, it's like, so it's a classic mystery of missing person. He refuses to believe she's dead. It goes back and forth a lot of times as whether you believe she's dead or not.
Okay. Ending on a high note.
Yep.
I like it. I like it.
I'm giving it 4.5.
4.5. There it is. All right, Liz.
I had Tragedy Girls, so we collided.
Oh.
I do not have a backup social media horror unless you want to go read my Dash Cam review and
Yeah.
check out that one. Dash Cam by Rob Savage, not the other one.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Go see Dash Cam. Go see Host.
I'm going to throw two other short,
sure.
the one sentence things. Go see Framed by Mark Martinez Jordan.
Sure.
Oh, 100%.
That is, if you want to see.
Is that available now?
Yes, it is.
I still haven't seen it based on all the stuff you guys have described about it.
Super gnarly.
Yes.
It's
That's that
super
part.
Super gory.
That part. Yes.
That is.
I haven't
and
seen
is-
it based on that.
It makes that is a you not for the faint of heart. That's a push the boundaries
Yeah.
one. But a friend of the podcast, Mark Martinez Jordan, one of our favorite contacts, and he does great short films. I'm hoping that he gets another chance to do a big horror movie because that
Eric
was
gave that
awesome.
a 4 out of 5.
It was great. It was also hard to watch, but I loved it and respected it.
It was great.
Superhost, which was the Popcorn Frights Grand Prize winner.
I didn't care for this one.
You didn't like Superhost?
Did not like Superhost.
I love it.
I
love Superhost.
couldn't get behind the characters. I didn't like the acting.
Oh no, I loved it. Yeah.
Yep.
But so those would be ones that I would toss out there.
All right. I'm going to toss out a tagline from 2018's Followed, Like, Comment, Die.